everyone. I wanted to let you know that this one is a bit longer than usual. Actually, it's pretty long. It's, I think, about an hour and a half. But it is, wow. Yeah. And it has a lot of examples of how our system is broken. Very, very broken. And I'm going to show you some examples real quick.
Judge, I'll blatantly say right now, I'll be there tomorrow morning to file my paperwork to sign my rights away.
You guys are nothing but heartless pieces of shit. And I hope you fucking rot helps me and sensitive and uncaring and unloving of everybody around.
I don't know. This one really struck a nerve with me, so I wanted to share it. And so many people go through this for so many different reasons, and there's some resources out there to help, but definitely not enough. So, enjoy.
Heard it. You have heard Ms. Harkin's announcement. Are you also ready for temporary orders and for me to hear an application for protective order?
Yeah.
What time?
Yes, sir.
All right, Ms. Harkins, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Judge, if I may just give a brief opening. Judge, at this time, we're here for temporary orders. And as I already stated, we do have an application for protective order on file. Judge, you'll hear from my...
Is that application for protective order, is that in the same cause or is it a different cause?
It's a different cause, Judge. They had us put it under a different cause number. Would you like that cause number?
Yes, I need to call that one too, please. Go ahead.
Okay. It's at 23030188 CVA.
Okay, now also calling cause number 23-03-0188-CVA. Application for the protection of Ms. Santiago versus Mr. Burdett. So, Mr. Burdett, I need your announcement on that cause as well. Are you ready to proceed on the application for protective order?
Yes, sir.
All right, Ms. Harkins, now you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Judge, the parties were common law married as of February 14th of 2013. My client will put on testimony of that today. And they do have 3 children, ages 8, 7, and 6 months. And Judge, you'll hear that my client is currently in New York. She basically fled there after a series of domestic violence incidences and concerning behavior involving Mr. Burdett's mental health and suicidal ideations, and you'll hear evidence of that today. And so she will be asking to be awarded sole managing conservatorship and to restrict Mr. Burdett's visitation at this time, in addition to that protective order.
All right, Mr. Burdett, at this time you have an opportunity to give me an opening statement. This is not your time to tell me your whole story, but just sort of what you're going to be asking this court for. So what do you think you should be asking this court for here today?
Well, in regards to the statement that was said that we were married in 2013, that is false. We were not married in 2013. We were in the state of New York. We have no formal marriage. We didn't.
Right, so I don't need to hear your whole story, but that's your position on the common law marriage. So that's all I need to hear as far as that goes. So you want me to say that there was no common law marriage? So go ahead.
The petitioner has committed multiple counts of domestic violence, identified through the domestic violence hotline. Also, there are multiple reports of body camera footage of me giving my confession to multiple Pleasanton Police Department officers. I have evidence of financial abuse, digital abuse, mental, emotional, and verbal.
And so what are you going to be asking this court for?
Right now, I am not in a current mental state to be in sole conservatorship of my children. I know that, and I can blatantly acknowledge that. I'm not trying to gain conservatorship, but also in regards to that, I don't believe that the petitioner should be allowed to be around to have my children in the state of New York where she is living, because on that property there are multiple people that have drugs and paraphernalia on the property to do with methamphetamines, and also at the residence that she was staying at, that was my Aunt Colleen's. My father has purchased amounts of cocaine and hallucinogenic pills and illegal substances.
All right.
And that's for insane. And also, my cousin just died last year from a drug and alcohol overdose addiction that stems from when he was a teenager. And I can give my story in regards to that as well.
Okay, I'll hear more about that later.
Me off. Yes, they've adopted her into the family and exiled me. I've been down in the state of Texas alone.
Okay. All right. Anything else before we start hearing evidence?
I have no job right now. I haven't had a job for months. I tried to work. I tried to regain employment through.
Right. I'll hear more of your story in a little bit, Mr. Burdett, but I think we're done as far as opening statements go.
Thank you. I don't know how to do this, sir. I've never.
I understand. I'm trying to steer you through it, but like I'm saying, it's not you get a chance to tell your whole story. This is just a short little summary that normally you just give me at the opening. You'll have an opportunity to give me your entire story in a little while. Okay.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Harkins, you may call your first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll call my client, Ms. Santiago.
All right, Ms. Santiago, please raise your right hand to be sworn. You solemnly swear the testimony that you give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
You may put your hand down. What is your name for the record, ma'am?
My name is Lumi Lianelli Santiago.
You may proceed, Ms. Harkins.
Thank you. Ms. Santiago, do you also go by Luli?
Yes, that's correct.
And are you, let's first talk about, Mr. Burdett says that y'all are not common law married. So let's address that first.
Yes.
Is it your position to the court that you are common law married with Mr. Burdett?
Yes.
And when is it that you and Mr. Burdett first got together?
At the end of December 2011 or 2012, I believe.
Okay.
11.
Okay. So have you and Mr. Burdett ever held each other out to others that you're married?
We have let it be known to each other that we were, yes.
And what about to others, like on any loan documentation, during the purchase of your home, taxes, anything like that?
Yes, the purchase.
Hang on for just a second. All right, Mr. Burdett, this is the opportunity for Mrs. Santiago to tell me her side of the story. So you can't interrupt her. So I'm going to hear her side of the story, and I'll give you a chance to tell your side of the story. But right now, please don't interrupt unless you have a legal objection.
Yes, sir.
All right, you may proceed, Ms. Harkins.
Okay, Ms. Santiago, have you ever held out to others on any documentation or outwardly to others that you and Mr. Burdett are husband and wife?
Yes, that's correct.
And when did you do that?
And the purchase of our home, and also as well when my son was born, on the paperwork, we stated we were married on there.
And when you bought your home, what was the date of marriage that was given?
February 14th of 2013.
And have you ever verbally told anyone, family, friends, that you're married?
Yes, we did consider ourselves married.
And did you and Mr. Burdett agree that you were married?
Yes.
And
I object.
All right, what is your objection, Mr. Burdett?
Okay, the dates that they're talking about and to do with 2013, that was when we formally got engaged. That is not when we formally recognized our marriage. We did not formally recognize our marriage until the year of 2022.
All right, hang on for just a second. So here's the deal. You can't interrupt just if you disagree with her. So you have to interrupt with a legal objection. So that's not a legal objection. That's just your testimony. I'll have an opportunity to give you testimony later.
Yes,
so any objection is overruled, and you may proceed, Ms. Harkins.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. Miss Santiago, where are you and Mr. Burdett originally from?
New York.
And when is it that you moved here to Texas?
I believe it was in 2000 and
2014. Would it be 2014 or 2015?
2014.
Okay, and would you tell the judge the names and ages of your kids?
My daughter Isabella is 7, 8. My son Noah Burdett is 7, and my son Liam Santiago is 6 months old.
And were Noah and Liam born here in Texas?
That's correct.
And Isabella, where was she born?
She was born in Oneonta, New York.
And what's the address of the home that you and Mr. Burdett own or share here in Atascosa County?
The first home, I believe, was 285 Linden Lane in Pleasanton. And then we moved to 203 High Meadow Drive in Pleasanton.
Okay, but what about the home that y'all currently own now?
95 Pulliam Drive in Pleasanton.
So the two of you have owned several homes in Atascosa County?
No.
We rented the 85 or 285 Pulliam, and the 203 High Meadow was just rent. And then we purchased the 95 Pulliam. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so as you know, we have an application for protective order on file. Has there been a temporary protective order that was issued recently in this case?
December 12th of 2022.
And have you been able to obtain, or have we been able to obtain, a copy of that temporary ex parte protective order?
No.
And to your knowledge, when did that expire?
February of 2023.
So it was a 60-day protective order?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the incidences that led to that. Can you please tell the judge about what happened right before Thanksgiving of 2023?
Thanksgiving 2022.
Yes, thank you, Judge. A lot of numbers in my head.
That day, Alexander and I got into a verbal disagreement, which led to him having some sort of outburst. And he grabbed a gun from the closet, from our bedroom closet, and pointed the gun to his head and proceeded to say that he was going to do something tragic to himself or his family.
Did you say his family or this family?
This family.
And that was right before Thanksgiving. Do you know a date range for that?
I believe it was the week of the 16th, November 16th. Between the 16th to the 18th. I don't really recall exactly the date.
And at that time, where were y'all? Were you at home?
Yes.
Okay. Were the kids home?
Yes, they were in their rooms.
And what did you do when that happened?
I waited for him to leave the room because he had already grabbed my cell phone and my keys from me. And when he left the room, I saw that he was going down to the kids' rooms. And so I saw the keys in the nightstand, and I knew in that moment when I heard him say that, that I needed to find a way to get out and get some sort of help. So that's when I looked at the keys in the nightstand, I rushed and I grabbed them. I waited for him to make sure that he was completely gone. And that's when I left the room and proceeded to leave.
Well, where did you go?
I went a few houses down and I stopped at their driveway to use their cell phone and let them know that I needed to make a 911 call.
Okay, so when you left the house, where were the kids?
In the house.
Was Mr. Burdett in the house as well?
Yes.
Okay, tell the judge what was going through your mind at that point.
In the moment when Alex had stated that, the one thing on my mind was I felt in my chest and in my heart, when you know somebody, when he said those words, that we were going to get murdered. And the only thing that I could think of was to figure out a way to get out, even if it meant me being the only one to get out, so that way I can get help.
So did the police come?
Yes, they did.
And what happened?
They detained Alex, and they had let me know that the kids were safe. And he ultimately ended up going to jail for that. And then they asked me the questions as to what he had stated.
Okay, he got arrested for that?
Yes.
Do you know exactly what he was arrested for?
No.
Now
tell me.
Oh, go ahead. Okay, now the protective order was not issued after that incident, was it?
No.
What was the next incident that happened that resulted in the protective order?
I went to stay at my mom's house because at that point, CPS had gotten involved after that situation. And so I did not feel.
When you say you, I'm sorry to interrupt. When you say you and the kids, or just you?
No, me and the kids. I would never leave my kids behind. So I had the kids with me, and I went to my mom's house, and it was December 12th. I was getting ready to take my kids to school in the morning. And as I proceeded to leave my mother's apartment, I didn't see Alex. Actually, the kids saw him first. And he was in the side of the wall of when you leave an apartment building. So I couldn't see him as soon as I left the door. He was standing right up against it. And he proceeded to start yelling, saying that I wouldn't let him see the kids, when all he had to do was just text me he wanted to see the kids. And then as we were walking down the stairs, the kids were walking down as well. And he was pushing me, shoving me. And when we got down towards the stairs is whenever he decided to cling on over me, try to grab my cell phone, the keys, and ultimately ended up to where he was basically wrestling me on the floor. And there was an officer who moved into my mom's apartment complex right next door to her. And he was off duty at the time. And when he left his apartment to go to work, he actually saw Alex on top of me. And that's when Alex, when he had came down the stairs and he saw what was going on, you know, Alex saw him and ended up getting off of me and left. And so that's when the officer off duty had called his team, and they came, and that's why the protective order is in place.
Okay, so the protective order was issued that day on 12/12, right?
I believe so.
And was
I'm assuming that's a magistrate's emergency protective order.
It is, Judge. We have the first page, and it's a poor copy of it. We could never get one. We tried,
Okay.
But yes, that's correct. So Ms. Santiago, he was arrested then?
Yes, that day.
And when is it that you left for New York?
I believe it was the day after.
On the 13th?
Yes, in towards the morning time, 10 in the morning.
Was he still in jail when you left?
Yes.
Now, we established that Liam is 6 months old. Did Mr. Burdett ever assault you when you were pregnant?
Yes.
Tell the judge what happened.
We were living in 203 High Meadow Drive, and we got into a verbal argument, and it had to do with me feeling that he was seeking other women, and he got very upset with me, and he took both of his hands like that and pushed me up against the bed as I laid flat on the bed. Then he proceeded to push 3 times as hard as he could on my chest. And when he did the third time, I knew in my head, I said, if I don't tell him that he's going to hurt me or tell him something, he can really hurt me. And on the third time, I said, Alex, you're going to hurt me. And he let go. And my chest hurted and had a little bit of a bruise for about 2 weeks.
So, did you at one time have evidence of some of this from the past?
Yes, I had multiple pictures of bruises, and also a time when he had actually pulled a chunk out of my hair. I actually ended up losing my phone, so I lost a lot of my evidence or videos that I had.
And when did you lose your phone?
I lost it in the process of coming up here to New York. I'm not exactly sure where I lost it. So yeah.
Somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had mentioned that CPS got involved. When was the first time that CPS was involved?
CPS was first involved March 6th of 2022. It was on his birthday. We went out to an outing, and him and my mom got into a discussion in the vehicle that we were driving on our way home. And my mom had mentioned to him to please calm down because he was getting very, him and I were discussing having an argument, verbal argument, and he was getting very loud, and she didn't like that because the kids were in the car. So she said, Alex, I don't hear her, but I hear you. And please, can you tone it down because the kids are in the car? And he was like, he started going off on her, calling her a hypocrite because, you know, she has yelled before in her house and my kids were there. So it was, they got into a verbal argument in the vehicle. And when we got home in 203 High Meadow, because that's where we were living at the time, it got to the point where he was silent as soon as we pulled in. And then she said, I don't want you to talk to me ever again, or something like that. And I guess that struck a nerve with him. And he ended up almost charging at her. He ended up pushing her to the floor. She got up. Then my mom ended up getting upset about that and was trying to get at him. So here I am in the middle of both of them. And I was mainly concerned about Alex because my mom is 60 years old, or she was 61 at the time. So I was more concerned about her safety than him. You know, he's a pretty tall and pretty strong guy. And I knew that the way that he was acting, he wanted to hit her and hurt her, and ended up causing, he did something where she ended up having a cut right here. And apparently no one knows how that happened, and the police took pictures of that as well. And so that night he ended up going to jail for domestic violence with bodily injury, and my kids ended up saying that in school.
Okay, well, okay, let's back up then. The kids said something at school, and who called CPS?
The teacher.
So CPS got involved. Was CPS still involved when you went up to New York in December?
Yes, they were until I got to my sister's house. They wanted to make sure that we were okay before they would close the case. And as soon as I got up there, they ended up closing the case.
Did something happen? Did someone come and check out where you were and check on the kids?
Yes,
before they closed the case?
Yes, we did. She had a police officer come by and make sure that Alex was not with us, that the kids were okay, that it was a safe environment, that there was no anything abnormal of wherever we were staying at. And once she heard the okay in that, then she could close the case.
And the case is closed.
There's two different cases, ma'am.
Yes.
These are two different situations. The current CPS case and the March 6th are two totally different situations. The one was a wellness check. The other one was a CPS case.
Okay, Judge, you know, it's not his turn, and I'll elaborate. Ms. Santiago, did CPS further get involved after the gun incident in November?
Yes.
And did you leave Mr. Burdett then when that happened?
At the time, no.
Why not?
Because I was scared, and financially it was impossible for me. And I've heard of the shelters. But I was it's an embarrassing situation, to be honest with you. No one knows what it feels like until you're in my spot.
Well, what did CPS require then at that point, since you were remaining in the home?
That someone come and live in our home.
Say
to make
again,
sure
the computer messed up. Say the name again. Who came to live in the home?
Oh, Libertad Quintana, my mother.
And so was she living there then when you decided to move out in December?
Yes. But we were in December 12th, we were at her house, her apartment.
Okay, so at that point you had moved out.
Yes, I left the house.
Now, is Mr. Burdett aware of where you're living in New York?
Yes.
Okay, tell the court where are you staying in New York?
I am currently residing in 1706 County Highway 16, Burlington Flats, New York.
Whose house is that?
That is Alex's dad's house.
Okay, and so is he currently assisting you and the kids right now?
Yes.
And how has that gone over with Mr. Burdett?
Not very well. There is
with Alexander Burdett. We're talking about.
I'm sorry, yeah, with your husband, Alexander Burdett.
Not very well. There is about 22 answering phone calls recorded in their answering machines. He's also called and threatened his dad, and threatened his mom and her boyfriend. So yeah, not very well.
So you're living with his dad, but his mom doesn't live there, right?
No, they're divorced. So she has her own husband. Yeah.
Is she helping you while you're up there as well?
With the kids, yes, she does help.
Do you have any of your own family there?
No, my sister lives in Connecticut. We're about about 4-ish hours away.
Okay, after you left Texas for New York, do you know how Mr. Burdett reacted and what he was doing here trying to find you?
I do actually. I've had a couple people let me know that he was around looking for me. And not in a nice way either. I have a friend named Erica who gave me the phone call and let me know, hey, she had no idea what was going on. I actually didn't tell anybody that I had left or my situation because I was in fear for my safety and my kids' safety. And she called me and said, hey, I just wanted to let you know that Alex was just here and he's not happy and he's looking for you. And she had kind of gave me the gist of what was going on, and that's how I found out that he was pursuing to figure out where I was at the time.
Okay. Do you have any concerns about Mr. Burdett's current mental health state?
Yes, I definitely do 110%, and I just want him to be able to get that in order so that way eventually the kids can be around and we can feel safe with that, because I do not trust his mental state at all. That's one of the reasons why I actually kept talking to him as long as I did, was because I felt like if I didn't and I wasn't there to let him know that, you know, someone did care about him, that he was going to do something tragic to himself, which is what I didn't want.
So, your knowledge, has he ever had any mental health evaluations?
Yes, he has. After the CPS incident in March 6th of 2022, they did request that we go seek counseling and also for him to get an evaluation. And he ended up doing that, and they found out that he has IED, which is intermittent explosive disorder. So they actually gave him medication for that, which he ended up just completely not taking it at all anymore.
Do you recall when that was that he was diagnosed with that? During his case?
Yes, it was after March 6th, so it must have been right around a month after that.
And has he continued to try to communicate with you since you left for New York?
Yes.
What's his, what types of forms of communication does he have with you?
A lot of it is very distressed, some threatening, emotional.
Well, I mean, how does he, in what way does he communicate?
Well, through phone calls, text messages, voice to text messages.
And what has he voiced to you that makes you concerned about his personal safety?
That he wanted to burn the house and himself inside with it.
Okay, let's start with that one. How did he communicate that to you?
Through text.
Judge, I'm gonna have to step out.
Mr. Burden, how long are you going to be gone?
Judge, I can't listen to these false claims and keep having this woman do everything that she said she would never do to me. And she's taking me to the ringer for child support when she knows I don't even have a job and everything. I have legitimate proof of her financial abuse, her domestic violence, everything.
All right, Mr. Burden.
Listening to these false claims, and she's using everything against me. I'm sorry, sir. This is wrong.
Mr. Burdett, I'm going to continue the hearing whether you're here or not.
I'm going to be listening, sir. I need
I'm
to
continuing the hearing whether you're here or not. You may proceed, Ms. Harkins.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judge,
I didn't hear that, Ms. Harkins.
I'm sorry, Judge. I uploaded in the chat a text message that I now want to prove up with Ms. Santiago. Lily, you testified, so he texted you that he was going to burn the house down with him inside, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
What did he text that on January 8th of this year?
Yes.
And did you provide that text to me? And well, Judge, may I share my screen? It's hard.
Yes, you may.
It's hard. Thank you. Ms. Santiago, is that the text you're referring to?
Yes.
Okay, and is that an accurate depiction of the text message chain as you took it off your phone?
Yeah. And
has that picture right there been altered in any way, the conversation?
No.
Okay, Judge, I move to admit this as Exhibit 1, Petitioner's Exhibit 1.
All right, I'm admitting into evidence petitioner's exhibit number 1.
Okay, so Ms. Santiago, this was January 8th, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and would you read this part right here? I can zoom in a little bit. This part right here.
Yes. No, I'm burning everything. And then I'm burning the house down with me inside. There's your fucking reality check. And there's nothing that you can do to stop it from happening. Hope you're happy with what you fucked up in my life.
Okay, and that was sent, of course, while the emergency protective order was in place, correct?
Correct.
Okay, now, then at some point, did he start doing what are called voice texts to you?
Yes.
And so you don't have an iPhone, right? You have an Android?
Correct.
And he has an Android as well, or an iPhone?
An Android.
Okay. So when he sends you voice text, is it just like a little thing that you click play on and it plays?
Yes, it's like a little text message you get, but you get a little play button on there so you can actually click to hear what they're saying.
Okay. And has he also sent you some concerning videos with suicidal statements?
Yes.
Tell the judge, describe to the judge what he sent.
He sent a video of himself driving like crazy down the highway, saying that he was going to basically kill himself.
And how many of those did he send?
He sent 2 of those in one picture, I believe. 2 videos.
And did he send those on January 25th of this year?
Yes.
And did you provide those to me as well?
Yes.
Judge, I've sent them in the chat. Judge, may I share my screen?
Yes, you may.
Okay, Lily, I'm showing you just the paused video. Does this look like the video that you sent me of the incident that you just described?
Yes.
And prior to me sharing that here, did you review that before sending it to me yesterday?
Did I say that again? Did I what?
Have a chance to review it before you send it over to me?
Yes.
Okay, and does it accurately depict what Mr. Burdett had sent to you on January 25th?
Yes.
Judge, I seek to admit this video as Exhibit 2. Petitioner's
Exhibit number 2 is admitted.
May I publish it, Judge?
You may.
You guys are nothing but heartless pieces of shit. And I hope you fucking rot healthy and sensitive and uncaring and unloving of everybody around you because all you give a fuck is your own fucking feelings, you heartless pieces of shit. You want to fucking be here and fucking send me over the deep end and fucking kill myself in traffic because that's what the fuck you doing. My dad didn't even fucking be there for me like a fucking father. You fucking heartless pieces of shit. You're gonna cause me to kill myself and my kids aren't gonna have a father just like Joe's kids. Go fuck yourself!
Ms. Santiago, did he send you a second video similar to that?
Yes.
And okay, does this look, I know it looks similar to the other one, but does this look like the start of the other video?
Yes.
Okay, Judge, I seek to admit this video as well as Petitioner's Exhibit 3.
Petitioner exhibit number 3 is admitted into evidence.
May I play it, Judge?
Don't think I'm fucking kidding. You guys won't want to fucking acknowledge me? You guys want to be heartless assholes? Enjoy reading my fucking obituary and leave me alone in life, you fucking pieces of shit! Go fuck yourself!
Okay, Luli, as far as him driving there on the road, I mean, he's going way over, he's going like over 100, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, after he sent these videos, did he send you voice text?
Yes, he did.
And do you recall how many voice texts he sent you?
I believe 3.
4, does 4 sound right?
Yes.
Judge, it's not letting me send these in the chat because it's, let me see. It says because it's an MP3 file.
Okay, well, you can go ahead and publish them, and then we'll have them. We have to get them like a thumb drive to us to have
I can
it.
do that, Judge. I can get that over there
So
today.
I will.
Okay, Ms. Santiago, real quick. So 4 voice texts that were sent. So are those just like texted and you click play on the text thread?
Yes. Yes.
And you said that those were sent to you on January 25th, right?
Yes.
Judge, I seek to admit 4 voice texts, the audio.
That's going to be petitioner's exhibit 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Yes, Your Honor.
Petitioner's exhibits 4, 5, 6, and 7 are admitted.
No, I'm showing you what the fuck you're causing because you're. I fucking see you wherever the fuck it is in life, Lily. You're gonna fucking see a fucking narcissist because you fucking turned me into one towards you because that's exactly how you treat me on a consistent basis. You're the narcissist, Lily. You always have been. You always will be. Just like your fucking sister, just like your mother, just like Melvin, just like fucking Viviana. If you don't fucking think so, I'll file a lawsuit against all of you for emotional damages. And then I'll fucking prove it in a court of law. And then none of you will be able to deny a fucking thing. You need to shut the fuck up and you need to stop.
If I click it, it starts playing. I'm trying to navigate it as best I can.
I'm talking to someone else when I'm not actually talking to anybody. You're such a fucking idiot. You need to shut the fuck up and you need to stop being a stupid ass bitch like you've been for the past fucking 12 years, like you continue to keep fucking acting, sitting here assuming that I'm talking to someone else when I'm not actually talking to anybody. You're such a fucking idiot. See, anytime I try and point out it, see, anytime I try and point out anything to you, you immediately point the finger back at me because you get defensive because you're a fucking narcissist. You fucking piece of shit.
Okay, last one.
You fucking left me down there and abandoned me and got an order of protection put against me. Okay? You fucking did all that. You got the assault charges against me. You fucking drove me insane, you fucking nutbag. Stop sitting here telling me that it was my fucking fault when you're the one who caused me the emotional distress to go criminally insane.
Okay, Lily, in that last video, he references the order of protection, correct?
Yes.
The temporary order. Okay. Then did he also send you a series of text messages on January 28th?
Yes.
Okay, and do you recall the context of those text messages? Was it, go ahead.
I don't remember.
Let me direct you to, Judge, if I may share the screen.
You may.
We're almost done with these. You know what? Let me just. Okay. Judge, what I want to do is I need to fix the PDF. I just want to admit 2 pages just for time's sake. So I can upload those to the chat in a minute. I'll have my staff do that. But I'll just share this on the screen. Lily, does that look familiar to you? Oh, you're muted. There you go.
I cannot see the text. I'm sorry.
So you can zoom in, Miss Harkins.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
If she's on her phone, it's gonna be teeny tiny.
It is very teeny tiny.
Okay, got it. Okay, let me scroll down here. Does that, whoa, I don't know what I did now. Hold on. Okay, does that look familiar to you? Can you see it? Just see it as best you can, and then I'll zoom in.
Yes, I can see it. The one on the very bottom where he says you left because you couldn't handle the monster that you turned me into. I may
Yeah,
have had
hold on.
some issues before.
Let me ask you something real quick about that. I'm sorry to interrupt. So on your Android, if the text is too long, do you have to click view all then to go to a different screen?
Yes, and then it shows up just all of his text messages, and then so you don't see them as text messages anymore. You just see it like a paragraph.
Okay, like that? Is that what it looks
Yeah.
like?
Yes.
Okay. So is this what he texted you on, this was, I'm sorry, on 128? Yeah, that's what I said, 128.
Yes.
Okay, and would you please, well, Judge, I'll seek to admit this as Petitioner's Exhibit 8.
All right, petitioner's exhibit number 8, which is a text message from January the 28th, is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Lily, would you please read that for the judge real quick?
You left because you couldn't handle the monster you turned me into. I may have had some issues before, but I was never physically abusive with a single female before you, and I had plenty of fights with them and so on. Then you come along, and I have over 10 police reports on record against me. So who's the real fucking problem here, me or you?
Okay. Lily, so we've established that he's been arrested. Were you arrested also at the end of last year?
I was arrested. I believe it was after Thanksgiving, before December 12th. It was a few days before December 12th, before I had left. That's one of the reasons why I ended up going to my mom's house, was because we got into a verbal argument, and he ended up getting close to my face, like he was going to do something. So I put my hand out to stop him from getting close to my face, but because he ended up pushing up against my arms, what it ended up doing is it ended up leaving him a mark right here on his neck. And the neighbors had called the police, actually, and when they had arrived, they asked him what that was, and he said he wasn't sure, that he thinks it was because of me. And when they had asked me, I told them the truth, and I was like, yeah, I think it was probably because I held my hand out and he had pushed against it, so it kind of left like a hickey mark on him, and I ended up getting arrested that day.
What, do you know why the neighbor called the police?
Yes, they called the police because they heard screaming.
Okay, and what charge were you charged with? Like was a class C assault?
It was a small assault, but they ended up dismissing that.
And based on what you've testified that Mr. Burdett has done in the past, and his continued abusive contact towards you, do you feel like he's likely to assault you in the future?
Oh yeah, definitely. He has no there's no control with him. Yeah.
Now, regarding the kids, besides the gun incident where he's, said he could do something tragic to himself or this family, has he physically harmed the kids?
Yes, as far as, not being very, handling them a little bit rougher than I would prefer for a dad to. Yeah.
Okay. But I mean, you've testified to some things that he's done to you. Has he assaulted you or assaulted the kids in that way, done anything like that to the kids?
No.
Okay. And do you feel that the kids would be safe with him if they were to go see him right now?
No.
Do you think that Mr. Burdett needs to get some type of an evaluation, psychiatric evaluation?
Yes.
And Is there the money for that? Do either one of you have the money for that you know of?
I definitely don't. I definitely don't.
And you testified previously that Mr. Burdett had been on medication. I know you're not an expert, you're not a doctor, but did you feel that the medication helped him at all?
No.
Did he take the medication as he was supposed to?
Yes. And then he stopped cold turkey after taking them for a little bit, and himself, he could see that it just was not working.
So when he was taking it as he was supposed to, it was not helping, in your opinion? Okay.
Correct.
So about the children at this point in time, given the state of things, are you asking that the judge order him not to have any visitation at this time with the kids?
At this time, I don't think that would be the best for the kids. No.
Are you asking to be named the sole managing conservator for the kids?
Yes.
And I know Mr. Burdett talked about child support. Do you know if he's working?
No, I don't know. I know that he's been selling some of the things off of our property.
Like whose stuff?
Our stuff, some of my stuff, some of his things, his trucks.
What's the last thing you heard from him about any job or the job that he had?
He hasn't been able to maintain a job because the last job that he was going to try to get to, they actually told him that he was no longer allowed at the facility because of his emotional instability.
Okay. Do you need child support from him for the kids?
I absolutely do.
Are you asking that the judge order him to pay guideline support, which if he's not working would be at the minimum wage level?
Yes.
And are the kids currently on Medicaid?
They are.
What vehicle do you currently have possession of?
I have the Escalade with me.
What year do you know?
2017.
And is that paid off?
Yes.
Are you asking for temporary exclusive use of that vehicle?
Yes, I definitely need that for the kids. Yes.
Let's talk about the house. What's going on with the house and the mortgage?
Right now, it has not been paid, the mortgage, and I really don't foresee that happening with him getting paid off. So I would like to sell the house. That way, at least I can provide something for my children.
Well, what has he sent you any texts about the house?
Yes.
And do you recall when that last text was with the details about the house?
March.
Okay, does March 22nd sound right?
Yes.
Okay. And did he tell you how much the mortgage is behind?
Yes.
Has he also texted you about the bank?
About the what? Say that again.
About the bank?
Yes.
What has he told you that the bank was going to do with the house?
That they were going to take it.
False.
Judge, may I have a moment to look at something?
Yes.
Okay. Lily, do you remember a text that he sent you specifically about the bank coming to take the house?
Yes.
Was that also on the same date of January 28th?
Yes.
Okay. Judge, may I share my screen?
You may.
Okay, Lily, I know that's small, but do you recognize this text from 128?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, Judge, I seek to admit this page and I'll email it in the chat as well. This would be number 9, I think.
Petitioner's exhibit number 9, which is a text message from January the 28th about the bank, is admitted into evidence.
Okay, and Louis, let me zoom in and I'll have you. Okay, can you see right here? Whoops. Can you read that to the judge right in here in white where my cursor is?
I would suggest figuring out a way to come get whatever you want from this house before the bank takes it.
And that was on January 28th.
Yes.
Then did he also text you on 3/22 additional text about the mortgage?
Yes.
Okay, does that look familiar to you? Is that
Yes.
the text from 3/22? Now, is this one of those that was too long, so you had to click off the screen?
Correct.
On an Android? Okay. And does this indicate well, Judge, I'll seek to admit this text as well as Petitioner's Exhibit 10.
Petitioner's exhibit number 10, which is a text regarding the mortgage being 2 months behind, is admitted into evidence.
Okay, Lily, does this state that the mortgage is 2 months behind at $2,500?
Yes, correct.
And the taxes are due at $5,200?
Yes, correct.
And, other accounts are months behind, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what is your concern about the house?
My main concern is I would like to sell it because I feel like I don't want the bank to take it,
And do y'all have equity in the house?
Not much.
If the judge were to order the house to be sold right now, is there still work that needs to be done as far as figuring out the division of the equity prior to finalizing the divorce?
Yes.
So if the house were to sell, are you okay if any money is made, that it's held in escrow or the registry of the court until the case is finalized?
Yes.
So your main concern is it just getting foreclosed on?
Yeah.
I want to direct you to something else. Do you recall in Mr. Burditt's, I guess it was his opening regarding the common law marriage and the property not being bought as spouses? Do you remember him saying that?
I'm sorry. I'll take that back. I looked through the paperwork. She was correct on what we stated. I have the paperwork.
You may proceed, Ms. Harkins.
So, Ms. Santiago, it's true that you and Mr. Burditt are listed as spouses on that deed of trust, right?
Yes, correct.
Judge, at this time, I'll pass the witness.
All right, Mr. Burditt, now is your opportunity to ask questions of Ms. Santiago. I have a couple warnings I need to give you. It's not your turn to tell your side of the story. It's just your turn to ask her questions. Also, there's been many allegations by Ms. Santiago during her testimony that would constitute a crime. So you also have the right to remain silent and right not to answer any questions or make any statements about anything that might be a crime. So I want you to make sure that you very careful about your choosing your words very carefully to make sure that you don't incriminate yourself with any of your statements. Do you understand?
Sir.
At this time, you may ask any questions of Ms. Santiago if you wish, but remember, only questions. I'll interrupt you if they're not questions. You may proceed.
Sir, I'm just asking, like, what would my questions be in regards to, like, to do with the case, or I'm just trying to clarify. That way I make sure I ask the correct questions.
All right, so I can't tell you what questions need to be asked, but this is essentially your ability to cross-examine Ms. Santiago. So you can ask her any questions that you like, that you think are relevant to this case. If Ms. Harkins doesn't think they're relevant, then she will object, and I will rule on those objections.
Okay,
so you may ask questions for Ms. Santiago starting now.
Well, there was multiple screenshots of my text messages that were submitted. Why did she not reveal furthermore conversations where she was making false allegations and accusations of me that she's done to me for 12 years?
All right, Ms. Santiago, answer that question.
I can send any of the text messages because I don't have that. I believe any messages stating that I committed anything towards him. In fact, most of the text messages that I have all stated that I was not physically abusive towards him or verbally abusive towards him. So.
All right, next question, Mr. Burdett.
Why do you show only my screenshots of certain key indicators, but yet you don't show the preceding conversation that led to that point?
Can I proceed?
Yes, you may answer that question.
Okay. So the reason why I took those bits and pieces, because those were the main concerns for me. The way that you were acting, the way that you were speaking. So if we have an argument, it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to disagree. I'm okay with that. Okay. But the problem is what you said is not okay. And in no way, shape, or form did I state or say anything like that in my text messages to you.
All right, next question, Mr. Burdett.
Honestly, I don't even know, sir. I'll be honest. I don't know. I'm shell-shocked by everything that she's pinning against me. This is a woman that told me that she would never do this to me and never take my kids from me and everything.
All right, we've been at it for about an hour. I'm going to take a short break. We're going to come back at 4 o'clock. Mr. Burdett, you can take this time to gather your thoughts and see if you have any questions, any more questions from Ms. Santiago. If you have any more questions, we'll proceed then. If you don't have any more questions, then we'll ask Ms. Harkins to call her next witness, but we will be in recess until 4 o'clock.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Burdett, we had left off and you were pondering whether or not you had any more questions for Ms. Santiago. So do you have any questions for Ms. Santiago?
Not that I can think of, sir.
All right, Ms. Harkins, you may call your next witness.
Your Honor, I'll call Alexander Burdett.
Mr. Burdett, please raise your right hand to be sworn. You solemnly swear the testimony that you give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir. I do.
Put your hand down.
Yes, sir.
What is your name?
Alexander Burdett.
All right, Mr. Burdett, I'm going to caution you once again. Some of the testimony that I heard from Ms. Santiago would constitute a crime. So that means you have the right not to testify against yourself. So if you have any questions that are being asked from Ms. Harkins and you believe that any answers to those questions might lead to incriminating yourself, you may request that you not answer those questions. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
You may proceed, Ms. Harkins.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Burdett, I want to talk to you first about the house. Is it still correct that the mortgage is behind a couple months?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you know what the current balance is?
It's right around 2,500, give or take. I have all the statements right around here on the table, like all my utilities and everything. I have it all organized.
And so the mortgage is behind. Are you capable of paying the mortgage right now?
Not at the moment.
And
Because
so, of course,
hold on a minute. Not at the moment, because of the fact that under the proceedings of filing for the divorce and under Texas state law, it locks down the property and the assets. Most of the assets that I have liquidated have all been my own personal assets. I have not actually liquidated any of the family's assets in regards to my children or no, I did liquidate a couple things in regards to the petitioner, only some spray for perfumes and stuff. And that was in regards to, she told me that I could because she didn't care about those items.
okay, would you be in agreement to listing the house and selling it, since neither one of you can pay it?
Under certain conditions, that would be a good possibility, yes.
What conditions?
Well, one, I don't have a place to live to move in order to list the house. I don't have any funds to be able to lease. So when it was mentioned about the escrow, I mean, that wouldn't really be possible for me because I would need the funds from the house in order, in order to move. I mean, I've already liquidated more than one vehicle from my own personal possession that was in no accord, and it wasn't even one of them wasn't even titled in my name. It was a parts truck.
Okay. Would you be agreeable to splitting? How do you envision splitting any equity on the house?
She can take her stuff and she can go ahead and I still have pretty much everything, all of her possessions. She can take whatever her possessions are. I'm not going to restrict anybody or request that I keep her stuff. I mean, that's not.
Okay. Let me explain. So, I mean, if the house were to sell and y'all got some money for it, what do you want to happen to that money?
Well, since she requests to keep the 2017 Escalade, I would request that she get a smaller percentage of the proceeds from the house, because all of the proceeds, all of the money where all this money came from was from my personal injury lawsuit. What I used to buy all of the vehicles, the house, the 2017 Escalade, I paid cash for a 2020 Ram Mega Cab Limited. I have buyer's tag receipts for everything. I traded in my 2020 Mega Cab for that 2017 Escalade, and that vehicle's in my name. I've tried to reconcile with her multiple times in regards to possibly trading in the vehicle and or bringing it down here. And I was going to give her the insurance check from the Tahoe that was totaled out because she smashed it into a building the night that she stole my phone, the day of an incident. There's more.
Let me say this. Okay, this is why I had said, and why Ms. Santiago said that the proceeds from the sale of the house, if sold, would go into an escrow until it was determined how divided, because clearly there are issues on your end and on hers. So I'll move on from that. Okay, so you're not currently working, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
When was your last job?
I don't recall the exact, I was trying to work with Texas Complete. There was an incident. I received a property ban notice in accordance to that. And that was the last place. I put in multiple job applications around that time through Indeed. I went to multiple interviews. I mean, personally, I deem myself mentally unstable because I have PTSD. I have trauma stemming from my childhood. I have multiple things that everyone has been unwilling to acknowledge.
Are you currently on any medication?
No.
Okay, you mentioned PTSD and trauma. Have you had any specific mental health diagnosis?
No, not yet.
Okay, and Ms. Santiago had testified to intermittent explosive disorder. Were you ever diagnosed with that through someone that you met with CPS?
Yes, I went through. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, do you know who
I was previously. I took Prozac when that's what they prescribed me. Previously, I was taking Cymbalta, which I saw treatment at a Scotia Health Center.
And why do you still go to Atascosa Health Center?
I have not, because I need to refile for benefits and so on to do with gaining medical benefits and making the appointments, and that's what I was planning on doing this week.
Okay, and so that's something that you're willing to do for your mental health?
Yeah, I've been willing to do that for over 2 years now. I've already sought treatment. I went to a therapist, Heather, at a social health center. She was the one that identified that all of my problems that I have are associated with trauma, and that the medication that I was on was not going to help me, because there was nothing technically wrong with me that associated with needing to take medication. That was her medical opinion.
Okay, so her medical opinion, what she said your diagnosis was, I want to make sure I understand. No medication, or that you weren't on the right medication?
No medication, because of the fact that all of my symptoms associated with trauma, because she showed me a board in her office that had a bubble in the center, and she says, can you please identify all of the different symptoms and what you relate to? That was during my personal appointment with her. I identified over 90% of the symptoms associated with trauma that I personally endured.
Okay, thank you. And that was Heather. Was she a counselor?
She's a therapist.
Okay. You know if she's still there?
I would imagine so. She had been employed there for many years prior to me ever coming there.
Okay, and when was the last time you saw her?
I don't recall the exact month. I would have to look through my records, or
I mean, like last year, 2 years ago.
It was the last time that I ever saw her was during an appointment that the petitioner and I had doing couples counseling. We did one session and didn't make it through because she was making false accusations and things, telling Heather, and I was not going to go through that meeting and have her say those things about me that were false.
Okay, Mr. Burdett, I want to talk about that temporary protective order. That was issued on December 12th. Is that correct?
December 13th. It was
13th?
issued to me the morning of my release.
So you received that at the jail from the magistrate judge?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and that protective order prohibited you from going near Luli, correct?
Yes, there was multiple things that were selected. I have the full report that was handed to me. I can read it off to, I mean, like, I could share it so I mean, like, I have no problem sharing all that information. The one thing that was, the petitioner did state to the judge prior to him filling out all of the information that she was not going to be staying at the residence, and he accidentally filled out to where I couldn't go to the residence. So therefore, I could not go to my own home for 4 days, and I had to seek refuge at a friend's, which he left and the dogs left them with no food. I had to call a friend. Not only that, I had to go to the courthouse down in Pleasanton to talk to the judge personally to get that relieved. And there were multiple things that, there's so many things, but I'm trying to limit.
Yeah,
I want to
clarify. Yeah, I want to clarify on some of that. So multiple things checked off. I'm not concerned about the house since she got out of there, but were you prohibited from communicating with her, like texting, calling?
Yes, I did not communicate or contact with her until both her and I had verified with the judge that it was going to be okay. And that was actually during the order of protection, because it was in regards to communicating about the kids, because she had already fled the state.
Okay, does the order state that, what you're saying, or that's something he verbally told you?
That was something he verbally said, Judge Carrasco.
So you're saying that Judge Carrasco said you could communicate with her about the kids?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did he say you could communicate with her about anything else?
There was no stipulations in regards to that stated. The only time that I would ever really talk to her about those things is also when she mentioned them and brought them up continuously.
Okay. I mean, that's your voice on the voice text, right?
I don't want to answer.
Okay. Is it correct that that protective order was, you might have answered this, I'm sorry, 60-day protective order, so it expired in February?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have any criminal charges pending?
No.
Because, you know, Lily testified to some arrests that you had. Have those cases gone anywhere, been filed? Have you heard anything?
They've been dismissed, and I'm on deferred disposition.
Okay, you're on deferred for what?
For the last charge from the date of December 12th of 2013. Or 2020, sorry, so 2022. December 12th of 2022.
Okay, was that in municipal court or was that in county court?
Municipal court, not
Okay.
county. All the only one charge was presented in county court, and that was for the charge associated with the date of March 6th, 2022, the date of my birthday.
And that was the alleged assault against her mother.
Yes, ma'am.
What happened with that charge?
It was dismissed.
I have no further questions, Judge.
All right, Mr. Burdett, now is sort of the opportunity that you would be able to ask yourself some questions. So I'm going to give you an opportunity right now. If you want to tell me your side of the story, you don't have to tell me right now your side of the story. You'll also have an opportunity in your case in chief to tell me your side of the story. So would you like me to tell you, would you like to tell your side of the story now, or would you like to wait a little while?
I mean, I have a lot of information to share.
Right. Do you want to do it now, or when it's your turn to present your case in chief?
And what would that? I don't understand the last word that you're saying, sir.
Right. So right now it's still Ms. Harkins's turn to present her case, and she called you as a witness during her
yes, sir.
turn. So do you have any more witnesses after this, Ms. Harkins?
No, Your Honor.
All right. So essentially, so do you rest at this time, Ms. Harkins?
I rest, Judge. I'm sorry. I'm trying to mute while I'm coughing. I rest, Judge.
Okay. All right, Mr. Burdett, then now now that she's rested her case, it's your turn to tell your side of the story. So you may, let me remind you that you remain under oath to tell the truth, and you may call yourself as a witness, or you may call anyone else as a witness. But at this time, I'm assuming that you're going to call yourself as a witness and tell me your side of the story.
Yes, sir.
You may proceed, sir.
Okay. This dates back 12 years to the beginning of our relationship. Within less than 6 months of our relationship, the petitioner made a fake phone number and proceeded to incur entrapment. She pretended she was someone. She pretended she was my ex-girlfriend from 2 years prior. Texted me while I was at work, and then towards the end of the day, what would be the word? She revealed herself that it was her. She packed my things because she had coerced me into moving from my hometown in Evanston to Stamford, New York, and get a job in Hobart, New York, through a family company. That was one of the incidents. There's multiple police reports in the state of New York. There's multiple cases of Medicaid and SNAP fraud committed upon her. She's committed multiple instances in the state of New York and also in the state of Texas, SNAP and Medicaid abuse, where she coerced me into signing statements to falsify income information. And those forms are in, obviously, Atascosa County. There's already been reports filed in both states. I've called the domestic violence hotline. I identify, and they, after my testimony to them, they confirmed that she committed all 5 forms of domestic violence against me: verbal, physical, emotional, digital, and financial abuse. She's had multiple fake Facebook profile accounts and messaged other women and sent them videos of me being aggressive as defamation of character. She's used those videos against me as blackmail, and to hold against me so that way I didn't do certain things. She's coerced me into multiple situations, including my birthday, because the night prior we were in an argument, and this is regarding March 6th, the date of March 6th, 2022. The night prior, we had a verbal disagreement. I had left the house, slept in my vehicle. The next morning, I had went to Atascosa Wildlife Supply, where I worked for Larry Friesenhan. I needed to make up multiple feeders because of the fact that days prior, there was multiple arguments while I was working, and I have text message records. I have multiple phone calls that were involving her and her best friend Summers that is located in the state of North Carolina. I have text message records of multiple conversations with her sister, her best friend Summers, Blake. Also a joint conversation between me, Summers, and Anthony Blake, which is Summers' husband, all identifying her emotional abuse. I have a club that's right behind me. You can see it right here behind me. It's a brown club that was given to me by my father. A friend of his had made it, and he gave it to me. She used that as a weapon to come to try and strike me with it. There are candle holders inside this house that she's tried to use as weapons against me numerous times ever since the state of New York. Multiple knives, butcher knives, in front of my children. She has tried to assault me with knives, the baseball bats, the club, candle holders, all in front of my children, and scared them also. Okay, she has committed multiple acts of violence against me that she has not told the court about. Okay, she sits here and she has played victim for the past 12 years, and also her family also has committed multiple counts of Medicaid fraud, tax fraud, and also food stamp fraud in the state of New York and in the state of Texas. They had a bankruptcy case where her stepfather had multiple bankruptcy cases in either the state of New York and also the state of Texas.
I'm going to object to relevance about this, what her family's.
This leads into how she has literally accused me of being a narcissist our entire relationship. Okay, when she was the one that grew up around the narcissist. None of my family members, my dad, my Aunt Colleen, my Aunt Kathleen, none of my parents, none of them have narcissists. Okay, how would I have picked up narcissistic traits? She's done nothing but accuse me of that for the past 12 years. She's accused me of cheating when I didn't. She's told me to go kill myself. She's told me that she's called me thousands of demeaning things over the period of 12 years to drive me criminally insane. Okay. She's told me that I needed to move back to New York and go live with white trailer trash, and called me a woman beater, called me all these things. Why would she stay with me and then keep accusing me and putting through mental and emotional abuse and verbal abuse? She's literally punched me in the back of the head more than once while I was driving with our 6-month-old daughter in the car 8.5 years ago in the state of New York. She threatened to flee the state with my daughter that was 6 months old with her parents that were visiting. And I went to the local stewards where the state troopers had just left our house, and I asked them if there was anything I could do, and they said no, because of the fact that it was on a weekend and she knew that she could flee the state. That's why also her friend Erica that was mentioned also told me that Luli had admitted to her that she was fighting to get an order of protection against me. There's text messages from the coincidental missing phone that I'm still stuck making payments on, that were to her sister days prior to December 12th, stating that she could flee the state anytime, because 2 weeks prior I had sent $3,800 through Cash App, the petitioner's Cash App, to her sister to help her relocate to the state of Texas. I've given her family numerous tens of thousands of dollars. I tried to help her brother buy a car when I received my personal injury lawsuit. I've tried to help her entire family. Her parents had literally tried to cut her off because we couldn't loan them $300 on numerous accounts. Her own mother disowned her and said that she wasn't her daughter anymore. Her parents have committed emotional abuse since she was a teenager. Her little brother tried to commit suicide when he was 8 years old, when they found out that the dad was cheating through computer or also in person. They coerced me to go to New York back in 2020 to go up there because of her mom was trying to see where her dad was. Her dad filed an order of protection and a divorce against her because her mom was committing the same actions where she was manipulating her father, calling him in the middle of the night, demanding that he show video of his genitals. Okay, these are all public record in the Delaware County courthouse. Okay, then the woman that he was associated with, they tried to file a lawsuit against the petitioner, myself, and anyone else involved because the petitioner and her mother both bludgeoned the woman with a house lamp and also a pipe in their family home in Stamford, New York. Also, the mother tried to bludgeon the father with a pipe as well. Okay, there's criminal charges that were dropped in because they had public defenders. There was a lawsuit. Patrick Lowe was the managing conservator of the estates of Libertad Quintana and Jorge Quintana Sr. Okay, like I have so much information. I've been quiet for 12 years and haven't said a darn thing about any of these people. Her sister sent me text messages openly admitting that she abuses her husband economically.
Hold on for just a second. So you can't really tell me what somebody else has to say, so I'm sustaining that objection. You may continue with your story, Mr. Burdick.
I mean, the judge, there's so many things that I can prove. I have photographic evidence of her financial abuse. She had an obsession with Lisa Frank. I have a bedroom set for my daughter that she coerced me into buying that cost me over $500 while I was working. Didn't have my personal injury lawsuit. Ever since I received my personal injury lawsuit, I've been accused numerous times by her mother, herself, and also her sister that I was going to leave them high and dry. Okay, I put her name on the deed of the house because of the fact that her stepfather did not do that with her mother, and she coerced me and made me feel bad because she knew that I was kind-hearted, and I wanted to reassure her that I would never leave her high and dry. So that was the main reasoning on why I put her name on the deed of the house. Also, the house was supposed to be an investment into our children's future and was never to be sold and to be handed down to our children. I took off of work a week prior to my son being born because I had an accident at work. I almost lost my finger. Then within a week, I closed on my house on the 30th of August, moved into my house on the 31st, and then had my son on the first C-section. Okay, within 2 weeks, she had me arrested, making false allegations. She's pinned numerous things against me. Okay, this woman is a criminal, and she's playing the person who cried wolf. Like I said, I have photographic evidence. I literally have this stuff. I can take the tablet that I'm on and show everyone on video. I have literally everything laid out. Coach, Gucci, Michael Kors, empty shoe boxes. She took a Louis Vuitton baguette my son's winter jackets where she knew she was going in the middle of December. She left his winter jackets. She took over $1,000 worth of probably sex toys, outfits, sex swing, all to New York with her and abandoned my dogs. Didn't take my children's possessions. So why were sex toys more important than my children's possessions to guarantee their warm? You know, I have multiple jackets in my son's room. Like I said, I can show you everything. I'll take you a full tour of my house, Judge, to prove my point that this woman has committed all 5 acts of domestic violence against me and drove me criminally insane to where I was a former shell of myself. And I confess this all to my dad, my aunt, everyone. I mean, like I said, I can submit multiple forms. I have electric disconnection notice. I was going to call to 211. This woman left me high and dry, said that she would never take my kids from me and fled the state, and then refused in text message, phone call, that she would never return to the state. So, and then she was trying to coerce me and manipulate me to move to New York to be with people that exiled me and abandoned me in life. Everyone has cut me off, demanded that I make apologies in order to be taken back into the family. My own mother threatened to call the police on me when I hadn't spoken to her in roughly 2 weeks through a text message. I can prove everything. The petitioner has also been drinking alcohol with my mother in the middle of the day over at the winery. She's driven home drunk. She called me at 11 o'clock at night randomly when I hadn't spoken to her in days. I could tell she was slurring her words. I could hear the car. I could hear the car keys, and she did nothing but deny it. And I was on the phone with her for hours. And then finally she sobered up and her voice went back straight. Okay, she's pinned on my dad's wife, current wife, to the last of my knowledge, that lives in the house where the petitioner and the children are staying. Like I have numerous messages from her daughter, my dad's wife's daughter, literally telling me.
Judge, I'll object to what you're saying.
Sustained. So you can't really tell me what somebody else says, Mr. Burdett, but you may continue with your story.
I'm just saying, I'm talking about the fact that I have screenshots of conversations. I still have all the conversations where my stepsister literally told me that Lily came home drunk.
Yeah, so you're telling me what the stepsister had to say. So that's what Ms. Harkins is objected to.
I understand, sir. I understand. I get what you're saying. But I'm just saying that, like, there's been numerous phone calls where she's literally accused me of wanting to be with other women when I've told her millions of times that I never wanted to be. She's falsely accused me of thousands of things for years. I mean, her family used me financially for years to pay their electric bills and numerous different things that they were past due on because her stepfather was claiming Social Security all of his life. I mean, she's trying to pin everything against me so that way she can benefit from getting money from the house and child support and get a paycheck from me for the rest of her life. And my family's literally helping her do it. And so is her family. Because they've all turned against me. I don't know what else to say, Judge.
All right, does this conclude your testimony?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Harkins, do you have any cross-examination?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Burdett, do you have any other witnesses that you would like to call?
I have no other witnesses at this time, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Harkins, would you like to proceed with closing arguments?
Yes, Your Honor. Judge, at this time, as you know, we're here for temporary orders and that application for a protective order, Judge. In everything that Mr. Burdett said, he has not refuted the incident in November involving the gun and the statements that were made, that he would do something tragic to himself and this family. He has also not refuted.
There's police body camera footage verifying where the police officer asked me if I did that, and I said no. You can,
Mr. Burdett, hang on. I don't want you to interrupt Mrs. Harkins while she's giving a closing argument. So let her do that, and then I'll hear from you. Go ahead, Ms. Harkins.
Judge, he has not refuted the physical abuse either. In fact, he admits to it in his text message to my client, where he states, you left because you couldn't handle the monster you turned me into. I may have had some issues before, but I was never physically abusive with a single female before you. He actually admits to that physical abuse. You heard testimony from my client that abuse was ongoing, and that the latest threat of suicide involved the children, a statement about them. But Judge, there have been numerous statements made alleging suicidal thoughts, which would be the video the two videos where he said he would kill himself in traffic, the text message that was admitted that he was going to burn the house down with himself in it, and then my client's testimony about the gun to the head. So, Judge, Mr. Burdett needs ongoing mental health treatment. And that is clear here. And that's what my client is wanting him to get. And until that happens, it's not safe for him to see the kids, and certainly not safe for my client to be around him either. So that's what we're asking at this time. My client is asking to be named the sole managing conservator, for Mr. Burdett not to have any visitation until he can show us that he's had ongoing mental health treatment and that he's in a better place. Child support at the guideline amount. And then the children are on Medicaid, so whatever the court wants to do with that. Judge, there's been evidence that physical abuse occurred in the past, and you heard my client's statements, the videos, the fact that Mr. Burdett continued to communicate with her in a threatening and volatile manner while that temporary protective order was pending, which he has, or was active, which he has agreed to, that it was something that he was aware of. So it's likely that family violence will occur in the future. So my client is asking for that protective order over herself and the children. Judge, we come back for the merits. And if Mr. Burdett is in a better mental health space, then we can discuss safe visitation, and that can, the protective order can say, can basically reference any future custody order. So that's what my client's asking for today, and this case is not over. What we got? Oh, I'm sorry, Judge, and also for temporary exclusive use of that vehicle, and Judge, she's really concerned about the house getting foreclosed on, so she's asking that be sold. A realtor can do it. Mr. Burdett can remain in the house until it's sold. He has time to figure out where he's going to go. But otherwise, based on his own statements, that house is going to get foreclosed on. That's all I have, Judge.
All right, Mr. Burdett, it's now your opportunity to give me your closing argument. Now is not your time to add to the story that I've already heard. You need to ask me how you want me to, you need to tell me how you want me to rule in your case and how that's supported by the evidence that I have heard. So you may proceed, sir.
Well, since I can't add anything, yeah, I forgot some things in my testimony, so I'll blatantly say that. I was admitting to when she's referring to the admitting of abuse, I was admitting to the assault charges that had been filed against me. That's all I was admitting to. There was nothing of open admittance to even more physical violence or anything of the sort. All I've wanted to do was talk to my kids since she fled the state. That's all I wanted to do, and she did nothing but conflict with it, and so did my family. And all I've wanted to do was talk to my kids. I don't want to reconcile with this woman because she's done nothing but drive me nuts. I don't want to be with this woman or her family or my family or anything ever again. I'm not trying to seek custody of my children, but I will forewarn you, I will come down to the courthouse and I will sign away my rights if this woman is granted full custody and she tries to take me to the ringer for the rest of my life for child support that she said she would never do. And she vowed and promised that she would never do this to me. And she's sitting here submitting evidence that she's using against me. She premeditated this. She premeditated all of it, and Erica was the one that gave me her confession on the fact that this woman premeditated everything, and her family helped her do it. Her sister gave her the finances of the $3,800 that I sent to her sister to help her get up to New York. Okay, I can't be a part of this no more. This is ridiculous. And then my family sitting there in the background listening to me. And knowing that they've adopted this lunatic into their house, birds of a feather flock together. Because everyone, I asked my dad to come down here for 2 weeks, begging him, pleading him. I just needed him there for me to be next to me, okay, for emotional support. Every single one of my family members has been emotionally dismissive. I can send screenshots and cell phone records.
All right, Mr. Burnett, I think we're getting off the path here.
I don't know. I mean, she claimed that I was going to kill myself and the kids, and I had 8 to 10 police officers right outside my door. That I have PTSD from that. I was about ready to lose my own life because of the false accusations that this woman has pinned against me.
All right, I have some concerns about the house on Pulliam. So what do you suggest I do with this house on Pulliam if you can't make the payments for the mortgage? It's my job as the judge to try to keep any of your property from going to waste, which would be if it gets foreclosed on by the bank.
I was trying to manage that until the fact that I was trying to liquidate more assets from the property to pay for the mortgage to guarantee that I would not lose it. And I was also going to be putting in more job applications to acquire a job to pay for the house, because this house is supposed to be an investment into our kids' future to hand down to them. And I've done nothing but try to I've liquidated multiple assets to guarantee that. And I have more assets that I can liquidate that are my own personal assets. They are not associated with my children's stuff or also her personal possessions, which I would love for her to come and get. They can come and get all the kids' stuff. That's fine. I don't care. I want my kids to be happy. I want my kids to have all their things. My daughter's talked to me on the phone numerous times, crying to me, telling me that she doesn't want to be in New York. She hates it. She wants to come back to Texas. They miss me. That I used to fall asleep with my kids every night.
All right, Mr. Burdick, so what do you think I should do with this house? Do you think I should say that this house should go up for sale so that way we don't have to worry about the mortgage payments?
I mean, listen, if that's what it takes for me to just be done with this woman and she can take her cut, but I mean, in order for this to work out properly, I mean, obviously, like I stated in the beginning, obviously a lower percentage should be going to her because she has a $60,000 Escalade in her possession that she took that is titled in my name. That I didn't approve of her taking and fleeing the state with, just like her brother fled the state with one of my vehicles and got it impounded in Connecticut.
So should I order that the house be sold and then any proceeds from that house be paid into the registry of the court, and then we'll figure it out later who gets what?
Okay, but where am I supposed to go meanwhile? I mean, once a house gets sold, I mean, if I can't get the funds to be able to lease somewhere else or rent somewhere else, or I mean, I have no family in the state of Texas. Everyone,
right. I mean, that's a problem, Mr. Burdick, because if you don't have any money, you can't stay in the house that you're in right now because you can't pay the mortgage. And if you don't have any money, you can't live someplace else that you need to pay rent on.
Okay, sir.
You need to figure out a way in which you can pay money to live someplace, because that's how it works in this world, is you've got to have money to pay for where you live.
If you look, sir, if you look at my financial record ever prior to this, I've never defaulted on a loan. I've always made my payments. Like this woman has literally ruined my life. I filed debt consolidation. She's left me with over $20,000 in debt in my name that is ruining my financial record that I worked all my life to get, and it's not hurting her. And then she's trying to take me for a paycheck to get to sell the house so that way because ever since I got my money, that her whole family has said that she's entitled to the money that I got in my own person. I have a spinal fusion and 2 artificial discs on my neck from an accident in Three Rivers. I went through litigation for 3 years.
All right. Is there anything else that you need to tell me, Mr. Burdick, before I make a ruling in the case?
Let's go for it, Judge. Okay.
All right, I find that I have subject matter jurisdiction and jurisdiction over the parties in this case. I find that the home state of the children for the purposes of jurisdiction is in the state of Texas. So I have jurisdiction to make orders regarding the children. I find that the following temporary orders are in the best interest of the children. I find that the mother should be named as sole managing conservator. She will be given the exclusive right to determine where the children live. She's allowed to do that within the current county that she resides in New York, or also she can she can determine that the children live in Atascosa County if she has any inkling of moving back. At this time, I'm finding that the mental state of Mr. Burdick is not conducive to any visitation with his children. So at this time, I'm not allowing any physical visitation between the children and Mr. Burdick. I encourage Mr. Burdick to get some psychological evaluation, some psychological treatment. So that way in the future, I can order him some visitation between his children. And also, Ms. Santiago, if you want to allow some electronic visitation between Mr. Burdick and the children that you supervise, you can do that, but that's not the order of the court. So in other words, if you want to get them on the phone or on FaceTime or what have you, and to talk with their father, you can do that, but I'm not ordering that. So that'll be your discretion. Regarding child support, I'm going to set child support based on half of minimum wage, as Mr. Burdick is not currently employed. I'm going to order him to pay $174 a month beginning on the first day of April of 2023 and monthly thereafter. I'm also going to order the mother to maintain health insurance to the government medical assistance program. And I'm not going to order Mr. Burdick to pay any additional costs for reimbursement for that program. I'm going to order the exclusive use of the 2017 Escalade to the mother at this time. And I'm going to order the exclusive use, control, and management of the house at 95 Pulliam to Mr. Burdett at this time. However, I'm going to order that that house be sold and the proceeds from that sale be deposited in the registry of the court. And in regards to the protective order, I'm finding that family violence has occurred and is likely to occur in the future. And I am ordering a 2-year protective order with everything that was requested in the petitioner's application for protective order, subject to communications with the children that are allowed by Ms. Santiago, and subject to any further orders of this court regarding visitation and access to the children in this cause.
Judge, I'll blatantly say right now, I'll be there tomorrow morning to file my paperwork to sign my rights away. You won't have to worry about the order of protection, and I'll never go back to New York State. And I'll sit here and vouch for that right now. And I'll sign any statements regarding that because I never want to go around these people ever again in my life. I can't believe this. I literally bought my house in September because this woman wanted me to buy it, and now she's literally taking me to the ringer for a paycheck. And now I'm going to be facing criminal charges because of this woman. I can't believe this shit.
All right, Ms.
And
Harkins,
then the people that are
add?
supposed to be my family that raised me since 2 years old and let
All
my
right,
cousin
Mr.
die.
Harkins, Mr. Burdett, I'm going to put you on mute so I can get some answers from Ms. Harkins.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Harkins, anything else I need to add?
Entry date, I guess. But I have an email for him, but nothing's on record. So.
All right, Mr. Burdett, I'm going to ask that you unmute yourself here for just a second.
Yes, sir.
All right, can you share your email address with Ms. Harkins, because she's going to send you a copy of the written orders that she's going to draft. And Ms. Harkins, if I reset this case until Wednesday, April the 12th, will that be enough time for you to draft these orders?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Burdett, I'm resetting this case until April the 12th at 11 a.m. It will be a Zoom hearing like today's hearing.
Yes, sir.
In the same Zoom number that we were in here today.
Okay. I'll make sure
What
I say
happens, Ms. Harkins is going to send you an order. It's going to have what I ordered here today.
Yes, sir.
I'm not asking you to sign it to say that you agree is what I ordered today, but I need for you to sign it if you agree that is what I ordered today. Do you understand the difference?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Well, I'm sorry, Judge, one more thing regarding the sale of the home. I'm just going to put the standard language for that, and then Mr. Burdett can appear and object. Typically, a realtor is chosen because the parties probably will not agree. I don't know if the court prefers one. I can just choose one around.
I'm sorry. Can I say something? I was just going to reuse the realtor that sold us the house in the first place, if that's okay with the petitioner.
Ms. Santiago, do you know who he's talking about?
Yes, my answer is no.
Okay, why not?
He lives all the way out in New Braunfels. I would have preferred someone local that knows more of the general marketing and the people around the area. I prefer someone that's just more local to the area that knows Pleasanton.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Mr. Burdett.
There was a realtor that we were seeking that was local that was local to the Cowboy Fellowship. Do you remember the gentleman? He had a beard. We went and saw multiple houses with him in the town.
Selleck?
Yes,
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Mr.
I was going
Pavelli.
to ask if he's local. We spoke with him before, saw multiple houses with him. I was going to see if that was okay with her.
All right, Pete Pavelli, as the realtor, any objection to that, Ms. Santiago?
No.
All right, so Pete Pavelli will be the realtor, and he'll list it at a price that he thinks is fair market value.
Yes, Your Honor. That's all I have.
All right, that concludes today's hearing. Mr. Burdett, I wish you the best of luck. Ms. Santiago, best of luck to you as well. God bless you all. Signing off.
Judge, I just had a question real quick.
Go ahead.
Is there any way that I could liquidate any of my personal assets to where I can make some money?
Sir, here's the problem. I'm not sure what assets are yours and what assets are part of the community estate. And generally speaking, the in Texas, all the property that you have is presumed to be community property until you prove it's separate property. So as part of the standing orders of this court says, no, you're not supposed to go around liquidating a bunch of stuff because half of it might belong to Ms. Santiago.
Yes, sir. No, I know. I read the orders and everything. I just wanted to ask, that way I knew. I'll be trying to seek employment so that way I can get some money.
All right. I think Ms. Harkins sent something to share.
Yes, I just wanted to say that my email is in the paperwork he was served with. If he wants to email me any requests, we can confer. I will talk to my client.
Right. So Mr. Burdett, what Ms. Harkins is saying, if you have some stuff you want to sell, you can send that in an email to Ms. Harkins. And if she says, yes, that's okay to sell those things, then you can do so. So if you're looking to liquidate stuff, make a list, send it to Ms. Harkins. Ms. Harkins can give you an A-OK on that. Then you can liquidate it. Okay.
Will do. Yes, sir.
All right. I think that concludes today's hearing. Again, I wish both of y'all the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.